Well, I'm here with the best yoga studio owner in all of Boston, Cindy. So I want to thank you, Cindy, for coming today.
Thanks.
And it's kind of funny how we met, is it not?
Yes.
It had nothing to do with yoga in your studio. It had nothing to do with internet marketing. And it had a lot to do with a civic project that I was doing through television, through a totally different town than where we are right now. And in conversation, your art students. Now, where are you? Kind of give me the career background, if you would.
I run the art department at the Chapel Hill Chauncey Hall School in Waltham, Massachusetts.
Nice.
And my students were doing a peace project. So they were sewing for peace, and we put the project up through a Waltham window display competition.
Yep.
That was last year.
Yeah, it was about a year ago now. And when we started talking, you had mentioned that you had a yoga studio in the greater Boston area, and we should talk. And we eventually did talk and connected on a personal, professional, and kind of every basis, I guess. And it took a while for us to eventually, I know you had your brother who's pretty savvy with the internet, and that leads to not a family and business conflict by any means, but it comes down to at times, because you're obviously art savvy, you know, you understand design and the Photoshop side of all this, and a lot of the things that I still, to this day, use other people for. And so I would love to start this off by having you say, how important is it to have advisors in your corner, people you can turn to when you just don't know what to do and don't really want to waste your time going about trying to learn everything?
I think it's super valuable, especially I co-own Kundalini Yoga Boston with my business partner, Siri Ramkar Khalsa, and we do everything. All the marketing, all the finances, all the design, all the running of the studio, managing of the teachers. So you can't do everything. And there's a lot you can learn on the fly, but there's some things like coding your website, learning what SEO is and then implementing it, that it is not a productive use of our time. So was able to start doing the SEO part, including picking the name from our studio with my brother, but my brother also owns a business and just expanded. So he was able to take us so far. So we knew that we needed to go to the next level. So by the grace of God, universe, flow, whatever you want to say, I have met, and my business partner feels the same way, we have met angels, and you're one of them along the way, who've really helped us to realize our vision, or to help us see a vision that we couldn't imagine. So that's been really exciting.
Wow, well, I thank you for that.
You're welcome.
By no means was this a setup type of thing, so I kind of stopped dead in my tracks. But on a serious note, you know, this video, Cindy, and Sari Bani is her kind of
spiritual name,
and that's cool, and I think it's great. And one of the nice things about this, and really why this is fitting, is this video is going to fall under a bigger umbrella of something that I call push button profits. And the first video in this series was all about the being, what you need to become mentally to ultimately transition and ascend to what you want to have, but in the middle is the doing. So the first video was being, the second video is doing, and this section of this is going to be part of the having. So the be, do, have, and that's very spiritually linked. But aside from all that, it's very important to really, again, reach away from trying to be everything to all things. And I know you've had some coding issues with your blog, and you're pretty savvy with marketing. And we actually had met last week, and one thing I just wanted to really leverage this opportunity for both myself and for you, most importantly, is what have you learned about kind of direct response marketing? Because again, you're an artist by trade, and graphics is one thing, but then there's the take action aspect of marketing, the most important part.
The marketing piece, I am not trained as a marketer. I think in undergrad, I was a student at the School of the Art Institute of Chicago and had a few marketing classes, which I loved, filed them away. So I've dusted a little bit of that off, but there's an art and a science to marketing. And I think through working with you, through talking with my brother, and through a lot of reading, I realized I am not a savvy marketer. And also through my own personality, I'm not aware of what's too pushy, what's not too pushy. You know, having a great respect for our students and their time, how do I market and get the information out in a digestible way so you know, they have enough information to decide if they'd like to do a cleanse, if they'd like to come to a concert, if they'd like to take our yoga classes. So I think you and I just did some stuff last week, which was really helpful in terms of the keywords. I knew in my head that for my Google campaign, I should be looking at my keywords. I should be changing them. So I was looking at, oh yes, all these people are visiting. It wasn't translating into people walking in the door. So you and I tweaked the keywords to make them more based on what the customer might want to hear. The customer
versus your...
What I think.
Right. You have the business end, they have the consumer end.
Exactly.
And really, it's not about this end at all. It's all about the matching your message. And we have something that we talked about in this video series called the marketing results triangle. It's all about having the right message to the right market using the right media. And you actually dabble in some Google AdWords stuff, which you can absolutely get cleaned out really fast if you don't have two things in place. And one is that marketing results triangle formula, but the other is a back-end marketing sequence. You see, Google AdWords is more or less advertising. It's no different than we've talked about the Groupons and the Living Social deals and it's a great tool, but you can't rely on that to be sustainable. You know, that's the advertising short-term ROI, and then the long-term ROI is in the relationship management. And you need to be creating content, you need to be email marketing, staying active in all the different engines of influence, but really scaling it and seeing what's working and being willing to modify and move with the marketplace. Is that safe to say? And that's kind of what you've been doing?
I think so. I mean, that makes me think about the blog, which is kind of the next step in our evolution as a yoga studio. And you and I have talked about the blog for a while. I had a blog.
For a bit.
For a while. I had a blog that wasn't linked to the website. One of the first things you said is, why isn't this blog on your website?
Right.
So it's one of the kind of action items that we did is get the blog on our website, and it's on there now. I wanted to create a very visually stimulating, easy to read, stupid, simple website blog. And I don't mean that insulting. I mean, I want things to be easy for people. I also wanted to create more of what I would call an Aquarian vision for a blog. So it's not my blog and I'm writing and you're writing and I'm going to put it on in a way that I want. I wanted to work with musicians, work with practitioners, work with other students. And we have a student in our teacher training who's writing a blog. So everything's from their perspective. So there's multiple things someone could be looking for, but it is very much a community voice.
And that's really the only thing in the internet is based on communities. It is completely about, you're a Yelper. You're a, you know, I don't know, a Google Placer. I'll start getting out of my element a little bit, but everything tries to create its own community because that's really what it's all about. And it's all about taking yourself out of the gluttony of life and putting yourself in a place online where it's almost like a second home in a way. You know, and if you can do that successfully, which you have a nice base on your Facebook, you have a nice email list, and now you're starting to cohesively put it all together. And what I would ask is if someone who aspires in any other industry, not necessarily yours, because you don't want to give away your trade secrets if you would, but what would you say to somebody who's just getting started and really knows they need to do something but don't really know what to do?
In terms of social media
just
or marketing all of it?
I mean, this kind of my umbrella, I guess, the Ally Advertising Group's umbrella and scope of services.
I mean, I like what you said before about don't try to do everything and don't try to learn everything. You know, if you can't afford to hire someone, think about trading. What kind of services can you trade?
Great point.
But it's worth the money to work with someone who knows more than you in terms of SEO, 100%, in terms of marketing. Read as much as you can. There's a ton of free stuff online. Trial and error, dive in. Even with Facebook, Facebook just went through a new facelift. So they've created a new banner page. I just did a free tutorial on, you know, what image size should be, all of these things. There's so much information online, but you have to do the time. So with any new business, you're not going to be sleeping much and you're not going to be getting paid.
The sweat equity aspect.
So do the time, it will pay off 100%. But I think don't think you can do everything overnight. Be willing to make mistakes and be patient. But I would say don't stop learning and don't stop asking for help. There's a lot of it out there.
I do that every day. You do it. You do it every day, pretty much. And I just want to thank you, Cindy. You really did mean a lot to me. And I know people took a lot from this because you have a very easygoing way about you, and you deliver a message in a way that I can't and nobody else can because it's unique to you. So thanks so much.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks a lot.
Very cool.